From Rwanda Broadcasting Agency, this is RTV News. Coming up, President Paul Kagame has commended local residents of Nyamagabe district in the southern province for their hard work ensuring security of their district as well as their efforts in fighting the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. And President Paul Kagame has visited Rachel Nyiramandwa, who is 110 years old and lives in Nyamagabe district of the southern province. Also coming up, President Paul Kagame has resolved an issue over local residents in Ruhango district of the southern province who had claimed that his property had been seized by what he called influential people. And beyond Rwanda, African Americans have been involved in filmmaking since the early days of the movie industry. Thanks for choosing RTV. I am Isabel Masozera. Now, top of our edition, President Paul Kagame has commended local residents of Nyamagabe district in the southern province for their hard work ensuring the security of their district, as well as their efforts in fighting the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, giving assurances that no part of the country will be left behind in the drive towards sustainable development. Here's Saj Inhore with more.
On Friday, the President of the Republic was in Nyamagabe district as part of his citizen outreach visit initiative and reminded the local residents that all promises made must be fulfilled.
The
primary reason I came here today to meet and talk to you is to thank you for all we have achieved together since 2017. When I came here to make a request of all of you. You granted me that request and I in turn made you a promise. You gave me what I asked of you then, but that was not supposed to be the end of it. What you did in 2017 was the foundation on which we are supposed to stand together and work towards a lot more. Some of the promises I made you, I knew would only be possible if you played your part. When you fail to play your part, we fail to attain a particular objective.
The
head of state also commended them for their fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and their efforts to maintain security, noting that any problems will be sorted out accordingly. There is security in general, though some issues do persist from across the border, but that too will be dealt with one way or another. His Excellency Paul Kagame also spoke on development. This corridor of Kaduha-Jitwe should not be left behind as we progressively develop. There is a lot of poverty here. There are no roads and other forms of infrastructure and much more. Anyone can see it and understand when explanations are given. That must change. Developing the country means developing all of its parts. Regardless of the state of Nyamagabe, it cannot rely on the development in the capital, Kigali. Nyamagabe must have its own development to complement that of other parts of the country. That is how the entire country progresses. The President urged leaders to understand the weight of the responsibilities on their shoulders, using a grain processing plant in Nyamagabe that has remained idle as an example of the need for leaders to resolve issues quickly.
Thank you, Saj. Now moving on, President Paul Kagame has visited Rachel Nyiramandwa, who is 110 years old and lives in Nyamagabe district of the southern province. Their relationship goes back to 2010, when at the time the president was campaigning in the district and they met for the first time. Rachel, who is a genocide survivor, asked the president for milk, and he in turn gave her cows and has visited her every time he has gone to Nyamagabe district it since. Now very old, Rachel met the president in her new house and sang for him, thanking him for his good leadership. She also urged younger generations to be hardworking. President Paul Kagame has resolved an issue of a local resident in Ruhango district of the southern province who had claimed that his property had been seized by what he called influential people. The head of state has made it clear that the law must be respected on the matter.
Among the people to present their problems to His Excellency Paul Kagame on Thursday while he was visiting Ruhango district was Adolphe Ribera Kurora. And he told the president that property rightfully his had been taken away from him.
There
is a very important person here in Rwanda called Eugene Mutangana, who works in the Rwanda Development Board, and he passed by property belonging to our family in Kanombe. And then he went and visited retired Lieutenant Colonel Kananga and told him that he wanted the property. He was told that it has its rightful owners.
You
need to get to the point. Let me help you so that we can resolve this quickly. Who does the property belong to? My mother. Who tried to take it? Eugene Mutangana. Is he your relative? Yes or no? Your Excellency, I was told by officials that he is your relative. The head of state then charged the country's chief of defense staff with getting to the truth of the matter, and later that day, as the president held discussions with opinion leaders from the southern province, the general reported back telling him how Eugene Mutangana had acquired the property.
Abandoned property.
Abandoned.
Yes, sir.
He bought the house and the plot it sits on when they were listed as abandoned property that was being managed by an appointed committee that gave it over to the district, which in turn sold it. Mutangana bought it legally. Mutangana then sold it to another individual. At that point, that young man, the one that raised the issue, was informed that when that has happened, the law requires that he be compensated for the property with money. He was therefore supposed to be compensated in monetary value.
So umusore rero yanga kwakira ayo mafaranga ariko yes, sir.
Also present was the Minister of Justice, who is also the government's Attorney General, and he confirmed that from a legal standpoint, Adolphe Ribera Kurora is entitled to monetary compensation, but he has refused to take the money.
Yes, Your Excellency, itegeko clear yuko kubona amafaranga ni nayo yasabaga.
The law is clear that in such cases a person is financially compensated. And as recently as the 23rd of this month of August, we wrote to the young man's attorney on the matter. He wanted the property to be returned to him, and that is not legal.
Yasabaga ko bamusubiza property instead of the money. Yes.
So he does not want the money and wants the property instead. But at this point, the process cannot be reversed. So even now, he won't take the money. But why does this persist to be a problem then, when it is clear? The head of state then reiterated that the law must be respected on the matter.
I
thought that maybe he was denied his property as well as monetary compensation. But it seems the issue is about him demanding that things be done in a certain way. In that case, then let the file be closed. I got a briefing and that is what really happened. As for the soldier, he had no role in it at all. The Ministry of Justice has maintained that whenever Adolphe Ribera Kurora will be ready to be financially compensated for the property, he will be.
Up next, our colleague Jen Motoni explores why residents of Mahama and Gatore sectors in Kirehe district are positively impacted when leaders listen to their problems and feel a sense of cooperation when it comes to problem solving. We have more.
It's been days since the administration of the Eastern Province launched a program called Sheshanira Umuturage that aims to reach out to the people and solve their problems. The governor of the Eastern Province, Emmanuel Gasana, says that this is an opportunity for the elected bodies to get closer to the people and understand their problems purposely to find solutions to them. This project will be joining the Sanga Umuturage project. It's an initiative we took upon ourselves to interact with the locals and listen to their problems and follow up to see if the elected leaders are carrying out their duties, which are to solve issues of injustice, poor services, conflicts, and campaign against crimes, especially domestic crimes, children rights abuse, and really ensuring that the leaders are fulfilling their duties. Residents say that when the authorities in charge of their well-being visit them in their homes to listen to them, it keeps leaders on their toes and held accountable to their duties. This makes us feel like the authorities care about the people and ready to solve the problems that we face. This does not only make one feel a part of the community, but also serves as a wake-up call to the leaders to fulfill their duties. In sectors of Mahama and Gatore in Chirehe district, where the governor of the Eastern Province, Emmanuel Gasana, together with the members of the Security Committee of the Eastern Province, visited the people, they were asked different questions. They were promised a tarmac road coming from Rusozi and goes through Munini and through the camps. The governor of Eastern Province, Emmanuel Gasana, also commented on the issues and requests. Concerning the tarmac road, the mayor said that next year its construction will begin. And on the issue of damages on farms done by cows, people should understand that cows need to stay in the cowshed because when they are on the loose, they damage the infrastructure, spread diseases, and destroy people's farms. There will also be laws that punish those who don't respect this, and we have also requested the council to establish punishments for those that don't respect this rule of keeping cows where they should be, as we also work with the security committee to ensure the protection of the people. This program of Sheshanira Umuturage is expected to be rolled out through the Eastern Province, whereby leaders will be reminding the people to pay the public health insurance of Mutuelle de Santé while bearing in mind the deadline. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Thank you, Jen. President Paul Kagame has criticized leaders who do not feel shame when they fail in their responsibilities, saying they must change if the country is to attain its development goals. The head of state made the remarks on Thursday evening while meeting opinion leaders from the Southern Province. More in this report.
The discussions with the opinion leaders took place at the Huye campus of the University of Rwanda and focused on major facilities that have been underutilized for years, most notably the Chinazi cassava processing plant that required explanations from the Minister of Trade and Industry while the President was addressing those gathered. The discussions always focus around Chinazi, saying the farmers do not produce enough cassavas, which is true, but I can't defend their position in this matter. Produce more cassavas to be processed where? With a facility with what capacity? I tell you that we have been discussing this matter of the capacity of the factory for 20 years. What is missing? Is it a lack of leaders that can analyze situations and take the appropriate measures? What is it exactly?
From 2012,
in all honesty, since 2012, the Chinazi processing plant has been operating at 35% capacity due to substandard machinery that was bought when it was first constructed, and replacing them had failed. We have now tallied the cost of replacing them, which is slightly more than $1.8 million, and we are going to do it. Listen to that. So 10 years have been lost just like that. Then there is the laboratory that belongs to the University of Rwanda that was built at Mamba 9 years ago and is yet to be used as it was supposed to.
hari rabu ikwiriye kubiri hano biotechnology.
There is a biotechnology lab that should be here. Where is it? Don't you have it here in Huye? And does it operate as it should?
Muri Huye? Irakora uko bikwiye?
Uko Perezida wa Afurika nuko nkuko twabivuze amashami amenshi yagiye agabwa hirya no hino.
Your Excellency, as we said, many of the university's branches were relocated to different locations, and despite the lab being large, it is hardly used like those who spoke before me noted. It would not be the case had the branches remained here, because then they would be fully utilizing that capacity. So you built a facility with that sort of capacity, then you had no one to use it, and your reason is that there are many university branches. But all those branches meet up on the trunk of a tree. Have you failed to link up those branches on your tree? Regardless of the number of issues that were tackled, His Excellency the President pointed out that they all have a singular point as their source.
Ibibazo dufite rero.
The problems that we therefore have, that we talk about all day, they originate from within us. As long as you fail to solve the problem within you, of how you understand and do things, how will all these other problems we keep talking about be resolved? Even when you bring in expatriates to resolve them, you end up using them according to your own flawed methods, based on your own flawed character that you have refused to change. That is how we Africans remain stuck in the same place for decades on end. That is how you hear and keep reading of other countries beyond the continent that were on the same level of economic development as African countries 40 years ago, but have been able to increase their development level 100 times over while we have done nothing more than regress. Do you understand what that means? And is that how you want to live? We must not deceive ourselves. If you want to develop, there is something you must do to make it happen. It won't just fall in your laps. The first step should be shame. You must feel it as leaders and as society. Enough to not repeat mistakes. Shame is a revolutionary sentiment. You must be willing to look at yourself and decide that you will not repeat anything that you may find shameful.
Hagira ikigutera iryo pfunwe kikakuviramo kuvuga uti sinzongera.
The discussions with the head of state lasted for 4 hours, and those gathered promised to work harder for the development of their province. The southern province has more than 2 million people living in its 8 districts.
Very insightful words to live by for any leader there. Now moving on, those who depend on gas to cook and for other needs say that they are relieved by the decline in gas prices. However, they would prefer for the prices to maintain the range they had before the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's Precious Kirezi with more.
The cost of a kilo of gas in Kigali currently ranges between 1,290 and 1,590. Residents have drawn attention to the fickle price changes they have witnessed recently. Prices are always changing. Sometimes there is a reduction of 500, but it doesn't last long before the price hikes up again. 6 kilos used to cost 7,000 pre-pandemic, and the 4,000 price increase is a lot. We need advocacy for reductions. Those with low incomes stop using gas when prices are on the rise and substitute it with charcoal. They're always on the lookout for price reductions so they can make a purchase. These prices are still up, and we would like the government to lower them. Rwara's Director of Energy Regulation has anticipated the reduction of gas prices in Rwanda for next month, depending on how the prices will be faring on the international market. Rwara urges residents to continue using gas based on how efficient it has proven to be in terms of sanitation, the fact that it's environmentally friendly, and to top it off, the quality meals that are prepared with gas. A survey on living conditions held from 2019 to 2020 revealed that 4.2 Rwandans use gas for meal preparation, and the majority resides in Kigali. Precious Chirezi, RTV News.
That's RTV News today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And I am Isabel Masozera. Please take care of yourself and for others. See you soon.